Alright, this is an update video giving you additional information beyond the other tutorials that I've created. First of all, this RGB button is something I forgot that I left in there. It's really not for this designer. So don't worry about it, don't use it. You can play around with it. It works with the set texture small option, so if I go textures and I choose a light color texture like sand, and then I choose RGB, I can choose like red, and it'll draw red sand. Or I can choose something even lighter like the marble, red marble, or RGB to green marble. But that's pretty useless, because generally that's not going to be staying in. The other thing I want to talk about is I added an option for hill size to the F5 key. So you bring up hill or the F5 key, and you have hill and valley size here, and I got it set to 3. And I'm gonna generally, I think you should probably set it around 20. So then I'm gonna say medium hill. There you go. Now, if I set it smaller, that's perfectly fine. Let me press F5. I'm going to set it to, let's just say 5. So, goes much slower. Here's a problem though you have to be aware of. I'm going to look straight down, and I'm going to hold the mouse button right there. Alright, now this effect is caused by, I've said I want the hill to have 5, right, at a value of 5 for the hill, means that it's going to have 5 layers. So you have the ground layer here, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Because this, the data that controls the height of the map is using a short integer, which is an integer, so you can't use floating, it doesn't use floating point values, so it'll do this weird effect. So in order to avoid that, you just move the mouse around. By moving the mouse around, you just are not allowing it to create these little steps. So, but you can create the hills a lot slower if you want to. Alrighty, so I'll put that back to 20. I think that's probably about where you'd want it. The other options I want to talk about, oh, I was watching people do design, and if you go into Shift F2 and you choose one of these zero maps, for example, or if you were to design something off the north side of like 2 or 1, and you modified a zero map, well, the zero map is repeated all over the place. So if I go and put an island here in the middle of a zero map, I have just put an island in the middle of all zero maps. So if I just go straight north, I'm going to go to the next zero map over, and here's my island again. Keep going. And here's my island again. So don't do that. The zero maps are meant to be ocean, and they are repeated all over the place. So you put an island in one, you got now islands everywhere in all these zero maps. So don't do that. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, there's a help screen I forgot to mention here. This help screen, all this stuff I read through this seems to be up to date. And as you learn things, you can actually modify it yourself. Right here at the bottom, I say, note, change this file by changing help.txt in the World Designer folder. And then whatever you put in there will show up here, so that if you want to take some notes that you want readily available, just do that. I think that about covers all the stuff I wanted to talk about.